Hello, my creeplings. I really feel like there should be some creepy circus music or something playing in my background right now because tonight we are going over a cult classic of horror sci fi cinema, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, released in 1988, which apparently seems to be a good year for horror movies because I think I mentioned more than one this in this series. Written by and directed by the Kyoto brothers, who are mostly known for their special effects. And you'll see why in this film. This is a cult classic. This is an amazing film. I laughed my butt off. Few names in here. You've got Suzanne Snyder. She's mostly known for a lot of television roles in the 80s. I think her biggest claim to fame, at least out of all the filmography I looked at, is she was in Weird Science as one of the love interests. And she was in another, I guess, horror comedy. You see, I've got a type. Film called Night of the Creeps, which I think we're going to go over on this channel. If not for the 31 Days of Halloween, definitely sometime in the future. Because I do think I am going to keep this going. A guy named John Vernon. He is a character actor. You'll see him and go, oh yeah, I know him. He played so-and-so's drunk uncle or the hard ass or the jerk cop. Surprise, he's playing a jerk cop in this one. He was well known for playing those kind of roles. And then, strangely enough, Christopher Titus is the comedian. His first film role was in this movie. It was a very small part, if I remember correctly. So, getting to the story, we have your typical 80s college town. It's also a coastal town. So there's bluffs overlooking the sea. And the only reason I say that is because on one of these bluffs, they call it the top of the world. And that's where all the high schoolers and the college students go for quality time with their significant others. And we pretty much open the story up there. You've got your hero and heroine, Mike and Debbie, are up there romancing. And they see a comet, a shooting star, as Debbie calls it. They go to check it out. And so does a farmer nearby. Now, the farmer gets there first with his dog. Poor dog. And they see a huge circus tent. Well, you find out that it's not really a circus tent. And the clowns aren't people in costumes. The farmer and the dog end up becoming victims of the clowns. They're the first victims. Like I said, poor dog. It was a bloodhound. It was so cute. So Mike and Debbie at the same time get there just after all this happens. They see the circus tent. They end up in the circus tent and they figure out that it's not a circus tent. It is a spaceship. And the clowns are collecting people because you find the partially not desiccated, gelatinized remains of that poor farmer. So terrible. So they freak out, and the clowns start chasing them out. They escape the clowns and head into town because Debbie's ex-boyfriend, although Mike doesn't know this is her ex-boyfriend, Dave, is one of the local sheriffs. And she's like, Dave will believe us. He can help us. Dave doesn't quite believe them. And Deputy Vernon, asshole cop, definitely doesn't believe them. He's more into busting college kids for shenanigans. And he's your typical asshole middle-aged cop. I've made my life of being a cop type character. I'm not saying cops are bad, but it seems like in every movie there's always the asshole cop. And he is your typical movie asshole cop. That's all I'm going to say about cops, other than so-and-so is a cop. This is what happens. We're not going to get on that discussion. So Dave and Mike are on their way to go check it out. And they see one of the many great gags of a clown using shadow puppets to capture people. The clowns are all through town wreaking havoc. There's a punching scene. There's a boxing scene. Literally knocked some guy's block off. Two clowns ransacking the drugstore. There's a really creepy section where a clown is at a local fast food joint called Circus Burger, so you wouldn't think that was out of place to have a clown there. He's trying to get a little kid. That kind of gave me the willies because the music just made it. Ugh. Okay, so Dave believes them. They go back to get Suzanne. Or not Suzanne, Debbie. Suzanne's the actress. I apologize. They go back to get Debbie, who's actually being attacked by juvenile clowns. She was shot with a popcorn gun, and it turns out the popcorn was clown larvae, and they had turned into juveniles and were attacking her. They narrowly miss rescuing her when a clown catches her in a balloon and takes her back to the spaceship, which has moved from the farmer's field to a local amusement park. On the way there, they run into Mike's friends. I know I'm going to say this last name wrong. The Terenzi brothers. These guys are your typical goof-ups. Constantly fighting. It's sibling rivalry at its best when you have two brothers that are about the same age. They drive an ice cream truck, again, with a circus theme. They end up going through the fun house, which is booby-trapped, to rescue Debbie and see what they can do about destroying the clowns and whatnot. There's a really great pie gag. They do pull out the clown car gag. How many clowns can you fit in there? So pie gag, they go in. Clownzilla is in there. It's so over the top. Two female clowns and the Terenzi brothers. I don't want to know what happened off screen. I really don't want to know what happened off screen. Dave does find out you can destroy the clowns by shooting their big noses. So and they just kind of whirl around and explode, and it's kind of a cool effect. Good triumphs over evil. The clowns never make it off planet. Everybody's saved, hooray! Very good movie, very good, 80s synth soundtracks. So, I mean, it's a fun ride. The effects are great. Like I said, if you can think of, the only thing I didn't see was slipping on a banana peel. We had balloon animals. We had a pie gag. We had a shadow puppet gag. We had a huge mallet. The bodies that they collect are wrapped up in freaking cotton candy, guys. This one is a trip. If you like to watch movies on altered substances, or in an altered state brought on by substances, this may be a movie you want to watch in said altered state. I did watch it drunk once, and it was funnier. But to me, when I've been drinking, everything is a lot funnier. So, even without the alcohol or anything else, it's a great movie. Like I said, the effects they're fun. They're so fun. Side note on some of the effects, though, they made 4 different types of masks for the clowns. And 2 of the types were recycled later in the 90s for, believe it or not, Ernest Scared Stupid. They repainted them and used them as trolls. And when I learned that and I went back and watched it, I could pick out which trolls were using the clown masks. Just because I knew the shapes so well. These are very iconic clowns. My hats are off to the stunt guys because they were wearing the big floppy shoes and running around in the woods. I mean, and these guys looked like they were physically imposing. There's one tiny clown. The rest are all like 6 foot and over. So, I mean, kudos to you, stunt guys. Especially doing that with the masks and great. But yeah, amazing score. The theme song "Killer Clowns from Outer Space" was done by a punk band. Oh God, what was the name? I can't remember, and I know I didn't write that down. But if you can find a copy of it, put it in your Halloween rotation if you're like me, and during this time of month, this time of year, this month, when you're, say you're folding your laundry or whatnot, and you listen to creepy music or Halloween theme music, this one I'm going to try and find and throw it in there. This is a very fun, good, classic example of an 80s cult classic movie. I wouldn't quite qualify it as a slasher, but it is definitely sci-fi comedy with a horror underlie because of all, the death and all that stuff. The cast is superb. They all work very well together. The guy who plays Dave looks very much like your typical matinee idol hero. He's got a jaw that could cut glass, great blonde hair. He's cute. The new boyfriend's a cutie too. Suzanne Snyder's amazingly 80s beautiful. Some of the fashions are definitely 80s fashions. I cannot sing this movie's praises enough. There have been rumors and talks about continuing the story and sequels, I think since the early 2000s, and it's in development hell. And I'd like to see more media with this. I'd like to see if the Klowns try to come back, maybe in a different city. See if they could get maybe some gorier gags going. But yeah, this just had some good old fun. This is one of those that if you don't mind your older, again, I keep saying that most of these movies aren't necessarily for children, but if you got a kid who's getting into science fiction and scary movies and is not afraid of clowns, I have to put that out there. If you're afraid of clowns, you're going to hate this one. If your kid's afraid of clowns, don't even mention it to him. But again, if you've got an older kid who can handle some violence and you're okay with that, have your older kids watch it with you. It can be, special movie night for kids 12 and over and mom and dad. The family that watches movies together can discuss it and really learn about things. Yeah, I highly suggest watching movies together as a family, even if it's a horror movie. But then again, I'm a little twisted. So that's it. That was Killer Klowns from Outer Space. I highly recommend this film. This is one of those that you will find a late night on cable. I think it's on the Internet Archive. I got my copy from the library. So yeah, you believe it or not, local libraries do carry horror movies. Check them out, dude. Seriously. Yeah, but maybe not pop some popcorn for this one. Don't eat cotton candy for this one. But, grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a big tasty beverage, turn the lights down, hang out with your family, watch some creepy clowns, some killer clowns from outer space. On that note, I'm just going to say goodnight, my creeplings, and I'll see you next time.